No.
All right, welcome in again, everybody. It's Monday night, it's 9 o'clock, and what else would you be doing bar watching the omnibus edition of The Voice UK? Well, you'd be on the Dunmore Town Facebook page, where we've got a very special guest, as you can see down the bottom left-hand corner. We'll talk all things Galway United in a moment to the gaffer. But first, let's get out to the Treasury Department, if there is such a thing, of Dunmore Town Soccer Club. We're at £7,200. David and Angela, let's do the latest lotto. Euros, by the way. Let's get back into Republic of Ireland. There we go. I won't keep firing on the radio this morning. Even Keith doesn't use the sleight of hand that the Donlands do. No. First number out is 19. 19.
24.
Thank you. 19 and 24.
30.
30, which again, the vast majority of people doing the lotto don't even realise there's 30 numbers in it, so that's a good start.
What about 5 years ago? 2.
2. Okay, recap on those then, David.
2, 19, 24, and 30.
2, 19, 24, and 30. I don't know much about trends and numerical possibilities, but that to me sounds like you're going to come back in 20 minutes and say, no match 3, no winner, next week 7,300. I'm just putting it out there. That Ollie, is a possibility.
Don't put the kibosh on him, Ollie, please.
You never know. You never know.
He could come back with a jackpot winner the way things are going. Right, David, hit play. We're going to introduce our next character the way we should do it, with a little bit of highlights.
He's the greatest of all one-club heroes. His goals, all 129 appearances over 16 years. John Caulfield may be the greatest of all one-club heroes. His goals, all 129 of them, remain the stuff of legend on Lee's side.
The throw for Beattie. Maguire. Oh, he's done it! Sean Maguire gets the goal! 15 seconds into the additional minute. Referee signals goal kick, then signals it's all over, and John Caulfield has got his trophy. Cork City win the FAI Cup, and Sean Maguire is the hero of the day and the hero of the run that brought them to the Aviva and has brought the Irish.
Oh, wow. John Caulfield, a very good evening, and thanks a million, John, for taking time out to join us on the Dunmore Town annual Monday night chat.
No problem, Molly. I didn't win the lotto, when I.
No, not well. I suppose.
Anyway.
We'll have to hold off. Things could change between now and 9:30. Just a little snapshot there. Geez, they were great times for you, John. Let's start first as a player. I mean, you were at the height of your powers in some of the clips we saw there with Cork, and Cork as a club were at the height of their powers that time as well. I'm sure you've great fond memories of those great days. Great days for the League of Ireland as well, not just Cork.
Yeah, I was lucky. I suppose I was in the league for about 15 seasons, 16 seasons for Cork, and I didn't pick up any injuries, so I was available for most of the matches. And we had a great time. Obviously, we won the league as a player in '93, and we won the League Cup a few times. We won the FAI Cup in 1998, but I think the main thing in the league is going around to all the different clubs and meeting the supporters and taking the stick and having the crack. But obviously playing in Europe was big, and I was fortunate enough that I played 22 times in Europe. So and we were there in the days of before the draw was seeded. So we were lucky. We drew clubs like Bayern Munich, Galatasaray of Turkey, teams like that were great draws for us. And but it was my career was, I suppose, lots of highs, maybe some disappointments, but overall, I look back on it, and I ended up down in Cork at 21, and they became the club that I just played for the next 15 years.
And that's kind of unusual, because somewhere along the line you would have thought a player of your quality that had been a chance to go to England or a chance to go somewhere else in your career. I mean, how close did you come, or did you at any point, to leaving Cork?
No, not really. I think probably looking at Ollie that we were all part-time players. I went to Cork. I got work down there, And I played with a brilliant bunch of guys who were probably Cork through and through, really, and I fell into that group, and I was lucky. We just worked and we trained, 4 times a week. I think we used to train Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights, Saturday mornings, and obviously the games were on Sundays at that time. And we hit it on the bus every second week up and down the country, and there was no bypasses. Went through every village and town in the place. So going to Sligo was about 7 hours, and coming up to Galway was about another 4.5 hours. So it was just a different time, and we loved it. And we were a strong group, and we were, we became quite close. So it was just an exciting time, and we lived for the game, but we were all working guys, and our day job paid our mortgage, and a few bob we got for kicking the ball went towards maybe buying a few clothes, or probably for most lads went behind the bar. So that was just the year it was. But great times, and but yeah, to go into another club, moving on, and that was never really an option. I never looked at it that way. I was always fortunate that where I was, and in Cork, it was funny that our crowds were quite big, particularly if you were successful. The crowds were big, and if you weren't successful, you took a lot of stick, with the local papers and local media. But overall, it was, my playing career I was very, very lucky, and I'm very happy I was part of such a great group.
Explain to us in Cork, John, is there a specific football crowd, as we might say in Sligo is very much a football town? Like, it's such a huge GA county, Cork, and it would be split with hurling and football. Is there like a separate following altogether? Because as you say, like, you regularly get huge crowds in Turner's Cross. Would there be general sports people, or was there an actual following for Cork City that was separate from anything else?
Yeah, good question, Ali. Like, Cork is unique in lots of ways, and I found that when I moved down there. Obviously, I have lots of connections in Cork because my mother was originally from there, so I was used to, as a young fella, being going down there from Roscommon, going down there for summer holidays and stuff. So I had lots of relations there. But that, other than that, it was, I wouldn't have had any connection until I moved down there myself. And it's a unique place in the sense that it has a massive sports following. People say it's a very strong GA county. You where I live in West Cork, football is the dominant sport. You go into the city, it's all hurling, even though you still have tremendous football clubs there like Nemo Rangers and St. Finbarrs, but hurling is the big player in the city. And funny enough, when you talk about soccer, we always had a hardcore of maybe 2,500 people. But certainly, Cork is unique that if any sports team is doing well, people follow it. And what I found quite interesting, that around the city, a lot of people that would follow Cork soccer would follow Cork hurling. Not so much football at all. It's funny the way it fell. Yeah. Then obviously Munster came along, in the mid-90s, and they then started generating lots of support because there was a lot of Cork guys on the Munster team, O'Gara, O'Callaghan, these guys, and so but Cork was was very much a very sports place, and certainly for asking me over my playing career and managing career, we would have had a lot of general sports followers, and when we were going well, they all came out, and it was fantastic from that point of view.
Of course, you did briefly reference the GA there and the interest in Cork, but of course your background is very much GA as well. In Roscommon, and you dabbled a little bit at underage before you finalised on the soccer front as your career. But you did play Roscommon minor football, county football. Is that right?
Yeah, I suppose, like, a guy from Roscommon, you're growing up, GA is the number one sport, football, GA football, I mean, and there was no such thing as underage soccer. When I was growing up, it was junior soccer had just started. If you wanted to play underage soccer, you went to Athlone. Athlone used to have the summer leagues, and Athlone was about 12 miles from my home place. And we had a couple of people in our area that were soccer people who used to bring us young fellas in at 10 and 12 playing Athlone, and it was great for us, And I suppose I always, at that time, if you think about it, soccer is the winter season, so you'd play, from September to April. then the J would kick in and you'd play J, and it was like that, and that's the way it was. So yeah, I would have played underage with Roscommon, but I think going to Summerhill and Sligo, obviously people know Sligo is a very, very strong soccer town. Brilliant area, great club, and I just spent a lot of my schooling down there going to watch them every second week. So it was in Sligo really I played most of my schoolboy soccer, and obviously the school itself soccer was the number one game. And but I always played J. Even with City in the League of Ireland, the season was finished at the end of April, May, and maybe I'd go off and play in West Cork with my local J club, and back then for pre-season in August or September. So that's just the way it was. But a lot of people make a big deal. It's different nowadays, but at the time it was just that's the way a lot of us did it, because we just kept playing, and soccer was our first love. We all played a bit of J, and I was my dad would have been strong in the J, but because I suppose soccer was always my number one.
An interesting question in from Jim Reddington, who's a Dunmore man living in Sligo for the last God knows how many decades. But Jim, a great stalwart, has said, given John's Sligo family connections, did he ever consider playing for or managing Sligo Rovers? I suppose that would be the obvious thing. I mean, if you're a Summerhill boy and you're doing well in schools, surely somebody from Sligo Rovers would have been looking at you. I mean, was that ever on the cards?
I don't know. There was often rumours, but I think realistically, I live in West Cork, which is probably 45 minutes from the city, down the far side, down in areas like Clonakilty, Bantry. Even though West Cork is like a separate county in itself. So, I think, had my own family, was I interested in moving back up the country? I really wasn't. I was settled, and but I always had a passion for Sligo Rovers, because I love going to the ground. I love meeting the people there. It's a proper soccer club. And so I would have a grow for Sligo Rovers, but I never got the opportunity to play there. But to be honest, I was quite happy down the court.
You mentioned the atmosphere in Sligo. Of course, you'd have become aware of the atmosphere in Terryland Park as well, and Galway United around the early 90s when you got going with Cork. And Galway had a really good team, obviously won the cup at the start of the decade. And I mean, were they a club that you had respect for, came across, had tough battles with in those years in the early 90s?
Yeah, as a group, we hated coming to Galway. They used to kick us up and down the park. My memories of Galway always Terryland, Terryland, coming out and Kevin Cassidy and Jimmy Nolan and Chick and Dennis Bonner. All I can remember going down the road, and the daylights be kicked out of us and probably losing. We had a very bad record for a long time in Terryland. Definitely in the late 80s, certainly early 90s, we had a very poor record. We always got beaten. We just, it was a horrible place to go to, because Galway were so good. They were so physical. They were so strong. It was a real local team, and they knew how to rough you up. And like the Cork team were by no means soft either, but it's funny that since I moved to Galway, I've met a lot of the older players. They often said to me they used to hate coming to Cork. And I was telling them the opposite stuff. I think it was a case that when you came into our parlour, we gave you a bit of medicine, and I certainly felt like that in Terryland, that we had a lot of days where we took a bit of a hammer,
Were you always destined to be a striker, John, or was ever a part of your career that you might have been tried anywhere else, or it's just that natural flair that you had for scoring goals?
No, I never played up front until I was in my 20s. Underage, if underage football, I played at the back. In schools football, I played in midfield. I signed for Cork City as a right back, and it's funny in your career how people can have big influence, and little things can make a massive change to your life. And in 1987, Eamon O'Keefe became the manager of Cork City, and he noticed I was quite quick, and he asked me to ever play up front, and he just started training me every week to training, and all of a sudden I went from right back to playing up front, and it just happened. So I always say for a guy that started played all his life in defence, then up as a centre forward and score a few goals, it was pretty lucky. But yeah, so no, that was just the way it happened. So yeah, so yeah, it was just funny the way it worked out.
And great success that followed. As you tick into your mid-30s, towards your late 30s, you probably get an inclination that things are coming towards the end. Was it a natural progression for you, John, to move into management? Would you have seen yourself even as a senior player, as somebody who had that kind of presence or that managerial feel to what you're doing on the field of play? And was it a natural progression for you?
Yeah, for me, I think it was. I think a lot of guys retire and some go into golf. They take up different events, cycling, whatever. But for me, it was I always loved. I did a bit with school bike teams, and I just loved to be back out on the pitch coaching kids. And I was always coming to the end of my career. I started doing my coaching badges. It was always a route I wanted to go down, and people often said to me, why, did you ever play golf? And I didn't, I had loads of opportunities, but I prefer to be out and coaching kids or young fellas, and that was my passion. So by the time I finished playing 99, 2000, I'd already done my B license. I was doing my A license through Brian Kerr, who was the technical director, and Noel Riley at the time, the FAI. So I was well on my way at that stage, and I was, really looking forward. Did I know where it would take me? Probably not, but certainly I was very keen to get stuck in. And like that, I managed in non-league, in schoolboy football, and then I managed in non-league football for 11 years. So, and I got a great kick out of that, and I was very happy.
And obviously, a lot of people would remember, in particular, your glory days with Cork, which is a good time for me to bring in Brian Keating, our club chairman, because I don't think anybody has seen Cork more often, especially when it came to those incredible battles in FAI Cup finals. Brian, just tell us about, and I'm sure John would have little knowledge of this, of the busload that would leave Dunmore every year to go up to the FAI Cup final, in particular when they started that deal in the Aviva Stadium where tickets were cheap for match day, but just pure football fans would all get on and a busload would go up, and invariably Cork were involved almost every year you went up.
Or Dundalk, yeah, well, it was rent a crowd by the FAI at the time, I'm sure. But look at most of the video. But what we normally did was an older age group, or under 18s, maybe 16s to 18s, because particularly in November, it was probably too cold bringing the younger crowd up, But they behaved themselves. But the big thing about the FAI Cup final, you have no problem getting into a stadium, 25 to 30,000. The atmosphere. They can talk about the Irish soccer fans at international matches. They'll be blown away at an FAI Cup final with the atmosphere, the flares. The Cork supporters on 2016, we were down that end up on the stand, and they were unbelievable. The passion of the Cork crowd. And then, of course, you had the Dundalks. They were probably the thoroughbreds that thought on the day. But it was a fantastic match. And then for Mr. Maguire to get that goal, I lost money on that one because I was supporting Dundalk that day, because I went to school at one time with Mr. Gartland's brother, our father, and he was a Westport man at the time. So, but it kind of broke down into half the bus went home happy that night. But we were delighted that the match didn't go to penalties, that it was decided, and to see John do it, you saw it there in the footage, doing his river dance up and down. This is a question I'd like to know from you. I'm sure you probably got as good a kick out of being managing that team, or what's it like, the difference between being a manager? Do you feel it more than when you were a player? I'd imagine you do, but I think the main thing is that when you're a player, you only think about yourself and how you perform, and it's very much, insular in yourself, and whereas you become a manager, you're trying to lead the whole group, and you have not only the players, you have your staff, and there's no comparison in terms of pressure, because you could have an off day on the pitch as a player, the team can still dig you out and get a result. But as a manager, when you went off, you learn about it from everyone. So it's I think the funny thing about that game was that
Dundalk obviously had been an exceptional team. We'd come out of nowhere in 2014. I gave up my job and went full-time into managing Cork, which was a move that I had previously a few opportunities to do that. But when you're paying a big mortgage, you don't give up a good day job to go managing a League of Ireland. So the time had come for me, I felt that my family had grown up, and I felt it was a good time for me to take over Cork. And I'd done a lot of non-league football. So Dundalk, we'd come in and straight away we began challenging them. They were a serious team. That particular day was they were going for the double. We had been close to them 2 years, but we couldn't get over the line. That was our first major trophy, obviously winning that cup in 2016, and we had a little bit of luck, but that guy Maguire, was phenomenal for us. So was so many players, but to win that day, certainly the relief was immense, and certainly as a manager, you don't plan to do what you do, run down the sideline, but it sometimes just happens. I think in the moment of that game, because it was the last kick of the game of extra time, and I think you knew when the ball went in the net, you knew the final whistle was coming, and that
was over,
so it was an incredible moment.
Oh, it was. It certainly was, yeah. But you would have given Michael Flatley, I think, a run for his money on the 2 feet dance that you did that day. And everybody noted it from where we were up in the stand. And the thing about FAI Cup finals, all the years I've been going to them, people stay on from both sides to watch the presentation. And I suppose there's a bit of banter going on between the fans. But that was great to know. And then I can't let that the evening go without having a look up there in the background behind me. You can see Stephen Dooley.
Yes.
And Stephen is with the man there, Tom Lally, he'll be a year dead. One of the great United supporters, Galway United, and a great sports supporter, Galway, Gaelic football, hurling, you name it. He was a supporter of it, but he died last year on the 31st of March. It'll be coming up to a year. But then it was a night, I'm nearly sure it was unfortunate for poor Tommy Dunn. I think he was relieved of his duties sometime that week, and he came down to play the highest tough goal. But I'll tell you one thing, if you were terrified of Galway, you weren't terrified of them that night. But anyway, Stephen came off in the second half, and we went over to one of your officials there just at the dugout, and we said, look, at this man here wants to see Stephen. He's just gone in. Give him 5 minutes, he'll have his shower and he'll be out. What a guy. 10 minutes he was with us, had a great old chat about him. His local connection is that John Dooley and Gareth Franz, his grandfather, and this guy's grandfather are brothers, and one of them moved to Monaghan, moved to Derry. And John is watching in here now tonight, and he sent me on that photograph, so we have to say a big howie to John. So, Dolly, I'll hand you back again to Wally there.
Yeah,
I'm just there, Brian, on Stephen Dooley. I think he's from Port Stewart.
Yes.
Up beyond Coleraine. And the funny thing about him was that he always played very well for Derry when they played Cork. But Derry released him and decided not to sign him back. And I couldn't figure out why that happened. And they changed a manager who just didn't fancy him. I remember leaving my house one day from West Cork and driving up to Port Stewart on a Thursday in November, because it never stopped raining when I left the house. It took me 7.5 hours to get up. I remember walking in the door and I met Stephen, his dad, and his mum, and she said, "Did you drive up all the way here, to talk to Stephen?" I said, "I drove up to sign him." And she said, "You must think he's very good." And I said, "I do." And he was a phenomenal player for us. He had magic in his boots. He was incredibly underrated. Everyone talks about Maguire and Shepherd in that team, but if you ask Maguire, he'd say Dooley was probably the most gifted player on the team, and he was totally underrated. He wouldn't give any interviews, very shy guy, but he was just magic, and he was phenomenal for me for the few years I was there.
Well, that's very good of you to say. That's certainly saying all the right things that the Garfrons want to hear. So
Yes,
a freeman of Garfrons now, John. No question about it, just out the road. John, before we let you go, we have to talk about the new season. The fact is you came in, I suppose, ended up almost halfway through last season, the truncated season that it was. came close, but now that you've had a full run in, and we hope we'll have a non-truncated season in the League of Ireland with hopefully supporters before the year is out. Do you think you have Galway United where you want them to be going into the season, which is now obviously less than a month away from its start date? Have you got everybody that you want?
Well, I think the main thing is, Ollie, is that I try to bring back pride and passion to the team. You ask about the early teams of Galway in the 80s and 90s, and when people got up to Galway, they got, they were going home with their tail between their legs, and I'm trying to bring that passion back into the club. Not saying that it wasn't there, but certainly I believe that if we could get a winning team, that I think you can see around the city and county there is tremendous support for the team. So in the off season, we did a lot of work trying to get players that we feel can bring us to another level. Obviously, a lot of the teams in the first division this year have invested heavily, which is unusual. But you have Shelburne and Cork there, and you have Athlone, Bray, UCD. All teams have invested a lot, so it's going to be a huge challenge. But if you're asking me, based on the type of players we brought into the club and players that we kept on that were originally there, and the young players coming through, I'm very happy with the group. But it is difficult when you only get one team automatically promoted, which is probably one of the things in the first division that is ridiculous, that you don't have two teams automatically going up. But certainly, I hope that we're going to be challenging at the top, and I expect us to challenge at the top. Obviously with COVID, you're hoping that the year will run normally, and certainly within your club, you're hoping you don't end up having cases that'll mean that you'll have players missing matches. But if we got a clean run at it, certainly I think we have an exciting team. But we need to, we need the support from around. You need positive, activity going through your club. We have a new board. They're working hard. I'm trying to, introduce full-time training, which is a step up. You're competing against Cork, who don't expect to be down in the first division. You're competing against Shelburne, who didn't expect to be down. So there's huge challenges for us. But if you're asking me, am I happy with the team we've assembled? I am. If you're asking me, will we be happy if we could get more players? Any manager would always say he would want more. But all I have to, in the position we're in and where the club have been, and after speaking to the board on it for a number of times over the last number of months, I'm happy where we are.
And I think we got a glimpse even in that truncated season last season, that towards the end it got really exciting, and we got nearly close to pulling off a miracle promotion. But I think you got a sense, did you, John, of the flavour, of the appetite that's there for a successful Galway United in the county and in the West?
Absolutely. I always say the provincial clubs, whether it's Cork, Limerick, Sligo, Galway, the potential is massive. And I just feel that we've been underachieving for a long time. I just feel that, I know crowds aren't back in yet, but hopefully sometime during the summer, or certainly by late summer, the crowds will be allowed back in. And but I can feel it around. Living up here, meeting people all the time, and anywhere around the city and county, I can see there's been huge interest from last year. But we need to have a winning team, and I think there are comparisons to other places that if you have a winning team, people will follow you. And but for too long we've been down, and we need to make sure that we start the season well, and just hope that that we can stay up there, that when the crowds come in, that we can get back in bumper crowds. And but certainly at the moment, I feel that we're a decent team, and I feel there's great support from around the city and county.
Well, you definitely have great support in the north of the county here in Dunmore, where you join us tonight. John Caulfield, thank you so much for taking time out. You're a real gent and a real sportsman, and we look forward to hopefully getting into Terryland and Jamin DC Park many times, as so many people from Dunmore have done, as we go up and support our own former player Mikey Place. And of course the battle this Wednesday up at Sligo Rovers, another Dunmore man, Regan Donnell, on the team there. And next week we're going to be joined by Conor Gleeson, a former Galway United goalkeeper, the current Galway GA goalie. So keep an eye on him next Monday night, John, as well. We might put a word in as well. If
just one comment here, Ollie. a comment that you probably don't see. Dermot Kilgareth, looking forward to the new season. He's a great supporter of us. Looking forward to the new season with John at the helm. By the way, Brian was the only one disappointed going home on the bus that day.
Yeah.
Well, I make no apologies for supporting Dundalk that day, but look at my grandmother came from Cork, so I'm not too bad, you know.
We forgive you, Brian.
Thank you.
I think in terms of levels of disappointment, Brian, I think you've had an awful lot worse days with the green and red of Mayo.
Well, I don't even think about that. Don't
We'll
even
leave
think
that.
about it.
John, thanks for that. We're going to bring back in David, if you're there, just to give us the results.
Thank you, John, for everything.
Looking forward to it. We'll wrap up in 2 seconds. David, what is the news from the Lotto?
There's no jackpot winner, no match 3 winner.
Oh, look at the smile on his face.
Watch him keeping a straight face. He's incredible.
I'm trying my best.
And
So there you go.
What Man United jersey are you wearing tonight, Dave? What Man United jersey?
David, what attire?
Dunmore Town tonight.
Oh, we're keeping it local. Well done.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So I preempted it there. We've got Conor on with us, who's the third Dunmore Town player to play League of Ireland football, and we're looking forward to that next Monday night at 9 o'clock, where we'll also have the next Lotto draw. Thanks to Brian, David, and to John, and to Angela, and everybody else who's been looking in. We'll see you next Monday night.
Night.
Okay.